Because I think 6 is just theory, or it's 7 that's just theory, one of the two. It's, yeah. So I said I want us to do 5.1 and then to do 5.2. So this should not take us too long. So here in this question, 5.1, they say the credit terms provided by the suppliers of Red Tea Limited are summarized as follows. Okay, so you've got these three suppliers. I'm just going to call them A, B, and C. Okay, and then the cash discount available. And then you've got the discount period in days. And then you've obviously got the normal credit period. The normal credit period. So the first thing they ask is calculate the approximate cost of giving up the cash discount for each supplier. So what is the formula to calculate the cost of giving up the cash discount? Yes. Yes. What are you scared of saying? Oh, really? uh, and yeah, I'm busy writing the formula. I'm gone. Right? Yes. This is not. If you look at example 5.1, the approximate cost of giving up a discount. Oh, okay. And then there's the cost of giving up a discount. Okay. So one is the actual cost and the other is the approximate, isn't it? Okay. I didn't realize there were two different formulas. So this is for the actual cost. That's what you're highlighting, isn't it? Right? Yeah. So this is the getting the actual cost. Then the approximate. I'm going to put it in green is D times 365 divided by N. Okay, and N is obviously the difference between your normal credit period and your discount period. Thank you for that, sir. So our discount is 1 point. All right, and then times. So I would actually do this first. 365 over 45 minus 15. Because N is basically the number of extra days that you have to pay. So what are we getting for that first one? Whilst you guys figure that out, I'll write out the second one. Yeah, you can times it by 100 so that we have a percentage. The first one, you're getting 18% on the dot. Okay. 0.25%.
So if they don't give us the number of days, we assume that the number of days is the system time.
I think, yeah, I think that's the way to go because in your question 5.2, they do the same thing. They don't give you 365 days. But when you calculate it on 365, you get the final answer that they give at the back. So I think that's a safe bet. Usually also with interest calculations, we assume 365 unless they tell us otherwise. So yeah, makes sense. So what's the interest rate for the second one? How much? Okay. All right. And then the last one? 620. 16,59. Okay. Right. So there we have it. Then we've calculated those, happiness there, approximate cost of giving up. Okay, so I guess we have to pay close attention to those words, eh? Otherwise, we're going to have some problems. Approximate cost. Okay, right. Which okay, so we go on to the next one. They say if the company is in need of short-term financing and can borrow funds from its bank at a rate of 18% per annum. Okay, so we need short-term financing. Secondly, not only do we need it, but we can borrow from the bank 18% per annum. Okay, determine whether the company should take the cash discount or borrow funds from the bank or forfeit the discount. When would we take the discount? When would we not take the discount? You say? How do you go about? If we don't know the number of days, yes.
Funds from the bank, or it's forfeit the discount, but how do we know how long this discount is then?
Well, the discount period is 15 days. So we have from the time we do the transaction, we have 15 days to take advantage of the discount. I hope I'm answering your question. In this table here, can you see? It said discount period days. So that's where we now see how many days we have. After the 15 days, we then are going to pay the normal amount. That's all you're asking.
Yeah.
The other one is 10, the other one is 5.
So we take the highest of this.
Because they don't specify which company we use, that's what I mean.
Oh, no, we have to check for each.
Oh.
Yes, yes, yes. We have to check for each. Have to check for each. Are you guys doing a calculation? What calculation are you doing? We have the cost if we did a bank loan, right? And we have the cost if we were to forego Isn't this is the cost of giving up? So if we were not to take up the discount given, right, by A, then this is the cost we would be incurring. If we did not take up the discount given by B, this is the cost we would be incurring, the opportunity cost. Can you see that? If we did not take the discount by C, this is also the opportunity cost. So we know that the bank loan costs us, this is an actual cost in interest, isn't it? It costs us 18%. What do we know as business people or finance professionals? Do we want a higher or lower interest rate? A lower. So if we compare A, we have 18.25% to 18%, which we'll get as a bank loan. We need financing, so we have to pick one. Which one are we going to choose? We are going to choose the bank in terms of A. No, remember, we're going to see. We're comparing each one. Yes. We're comparing each one and saying, do we take the loan or do we actually take advantage of the discount? So again, here, we're saying, oh, it's actually cheaper for us to finance paying off these goods supplied by company A by getting financing from the bank. So we'll actually go and take a loan to finance this. Okay. When we go to B, we see 18% is the cost. Yeah, we should still take the loan. Yep, borrowing financing. Because again, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to finance these goods with a bank loan, isn't it? Is it making sense now?
Yeah.
We're going for the lower interest rate. Now here we can see, oh, actually, it's cheaper for us to actually take the discount than the loan. So we're obviously going to make sure that we pay within 5 days. All right, which now makes sense as to why it's cheaper. Okay, so that was the second part. But now if we go to the third part, it says, if the company can stretch its normal credit period, all right, from company A by 10 days, okay, would your answer in part 2 change in relation to company A only? Okay, so what they're then saying, if the normal credit period, so instead of 45, you now have 55 days. So here our calculation would change. It would now be 1.5% times 365 divided by 55 minus 15. And what answer are we getting? 13.68%. So in this scenario, what would we do? Versus 18%. Uh-huh.
Question 2, like the II, not to calculate using actual values and to just steal the answers or like take the answers from the above?
That's a good question. The company is short of finance. Similar. Hmm.
It's content.
That's a good question because I think here, if we look in the actual back of the question, they didn't recalculate. They used the same. Yeah. But the thing is, how do you know? So I hope they really specify and make it a point to say,
Using
um, because yeah, using the percentages calculated in part A, or saying calculating the actual cost of the discount, of the cash discount. Because I can see here just one word, approximate. You'd obviously then use this formula, if it wasn't for the approximate. So I really hope they make it very, very clear. Otherwise, don't want to penalize students because of a poorly asked question. But yeah, so that was your 5.1. So then we go to 5.2. 5.2, even easier, even easier. So here it says Red Bush Limited has obtained 200,000 60-day term loan from the bank, all right, at an annual interest rate of 15.21% per annum, compounded every 60 days, payable on maturity. Okay, so the loan, day term, 60-day term loan. So the loan is for 60 days. Calculate the effective annual rate associated to the loan. Right? Let me cheat. Let me go and find the formula. For the effective interest rate. But here you didn't actually need to actually nope. How to put this? Yes, you could. I actually feel like you don't even need to. You can just use, kind of logic, if I can call it that. So I would just say, look, I know the interest rate is 15.21, right? And we want to get the effective interest rate. In other words, the interest rate for 60 days. So I would then just say times 60 over 365, because we know this is an annual, isn't it? And if you do that, what do you get? Compounded every 60 days. Uh-huh. And let's see if we actually do it in this format. if we get a different answer. So 1 plus the interest rate is 15.25, sorry, 21 divided by it's every 2 months, is it? Minus 1. How many compounding periods? Every 60. So you put what, 60 into 360? Sorry, 365. Okay. Okay, so let's try that. Let's see. So you put a 2 here.
Not.
Oh, okay. So are you getting the same thing? Because I do know this is the right answer on the back. Effective annual rate.
Months and then compound every like 6 times a year.
Yeah.
It's like semi-annually, it's twice a year.
Yeah.
Engineering is good. 16.21. Well, I found my financial calculator, I also got 16.21, but now.
You said you got 15.7. You know what? Calculate the effective. This actually then is wrong. I think we may have the wrong thing in the potentially we may have the wrong answer at the back of the textbook. Just off of principle. Because remember when you guys went through your 2A, remember we said the more compounding periods they are, the higher the interest rate will be. Okay, so I'm not sure which one of yours is right here. Did you use a financial calculator? Did you get the same? Yes, but you used both to get the 16.2. Okay, so I think we can work with that. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Remember, here this is 15.21% per annum. All right. So that is a nominal, that is basically without compounding involved. Can you see how we're calculating the effective annual rate? By means of assessing, but wait, how many compounding periods are within this year? If we said monthly, that means it would be 12 compounding periods, which would be even higher. Can you see that? Because we're actually paying more effectively. So that's why I'm sure that the 2.5 cannot be correct, because that's significantly lower than the actual 15.21. Can you see that? Yes, that's why I'm saying I ticked it when I showed that. But now when I think about it, it doesn't make sense. It should actually be higher, because we know of principle that if the compounding periods are more, the interest rate should be more.
The effective annual rate.
Yes, the effective rate.
Well,
That's what they have there. Let me flip back to 5.2. Calculate the effective annual rate.
the effective annual rate is 0.21.
Yeah.
There's a mistake.
Yeah, maybe in the because they also left out this only on question 3. In the answers, do they show question 3? Yeah, so there's probably a mix-up. So let's just if we drop out annual, right, effective rate, so we're then saying that's where now my calculation makes sense. 15.21 times 60 over 365. And this is to speak to what you mentioned earlier, Fortunate, in terms of if they don't tell you that it's a 365-day year or 360, then you assume that it's 365. Yeah. Okay, so this gives you the 2.5 that they have in the back. Then part 2, it says calculate the rand amount of interest that will be paid, okay, on maturity of the loan. Okay, so we know that this is for, so literally you're just going to take your 200,000. You can either apply that 2.5%, or you can just say, okay, times 15.21, and then say times, this is, isn't it, we have to apportion it for 60 days. And that should give you about 5,000 something. If I recall, 5,000 point something. If I recall correctly. What's the decimals there? 55. Okay. And this is a rand value. Right. Then finally, it is asking, with the assumption that the interest rate is compounded every 60 days. Okay, so basically, we can even just move this, knowing what we know now. And let me just erase that at the bottom. Everybody happy? Are we good? Right. So, if there are no other questions, thoughts, concerns, that is pretty much it for the day. That is it for today. So if you can do 5.3, 5.4, and 5.5 for homework, then then we try and cover those tomorrow. It's tomorrow when I see you again, right? I was hoping that it would be Wednesday, but I think it is
Maybe
tomorrow.
it is actually tomorrow. But I think
It's actually tomorrow, but at 10.
oh, before Meridian,
Yeah.
then the next day and Wednesday is counting at 5.
So then I see you on Friday. Yeah. So